challenges, what you as parents need to know first. So you know your child best. You know that they're bright. You know that they're creative. However, reading, writing or maths just aren't clicking the way that they should. Every afternoon's turning into meltdowns, frustrations and homework battles. You see it in their eyes, the way they shut down or pull away, and you're left with that heavy question, what am I missing here? So you ask yourself, where do I go for help? Do I need a diagnosis? Should I take them to the doctor? Is there a reading program that actually works? Today I'm going to talk you through some clear next steps that can make this feel like a lot less overwhelming for you. I'm Nikki from Dyslexia Unpuzzled right here in Hawke's Bay. I work with children, teens and adults who haven't been supported in a way that they needed by traditional learning. My passion is helping families understand what's really going on and showing them strategies that actually fit with the way their child learns best. The very first step, if you are worried about your child's learning, is to talk to their teacher. If possible, their teacher's school principal. Teachers in the classroom often see things that aren't always showing up at home, and don't forget the insights that you share with the teacher from home are just as important. Look out for these signs. Here are some of the signs that may point to a learning challenge. A drop in grades or sudden homework struggles. Teachers raising concerns about focus or concentration, withdrawing from friends, family or hobbies, sudden irritability, mood swings or meltdowns after school, just refusing to read or engage in any homework leading to battles at home, changes in sleep patterns, frequent unexplained headaches or stomach aches during the school day. Sometimes the signs are a lot subtler. Perfectionism, anxiety over the teeniest little mistakes and refusing anything less than perfect or working themselves into exhaustion. Sometimes humour becomes a shield, so the funny guy who always has a joke on hand might not be the carefree guy at all. They're possibly working really hard to hide their struggles and avoid any embarrassment of being found out. Sitting frozen in front of a blank page, paralysed by not knowing where to start. Always helping others, people, while ignoring their own needs. Frequent sick days, constant tiredness, or nervous habits like nail biting, hair twirling, or picking at their skin. Language like, oh, I always mess up, or nothing ever goes right. Self-put-downs disguised as jokes. Saying everything feels like forever or never, struggling to recall yesterday or imagine next week. Extreme sensitivity to even gentle feedback. If you're seeing several of these patterns, it's worth taking them seriously and talking them through with the school. As for timing, I usually suggest giving the school 1 or 2 terms to see what support they can put in place. However, if your child is showing red flags like refusing school or high anxiety around learning or slipping further and further behind, don't wait. That's the time to look for extra help sooner. Another question I hear all the time is, do I need a diagnosis? Should I take my child to the doctor or paediatrician? Doctors don't usually diagnose dyslexia or dyscalculia. What they can do is rule out other factors like hearing or vision issues or something nutritionally that's deficient. This might be making learning harder for them if they have some of this. For learning differences though, the first step is always through the school, or in some cases, a specialist assessor. Some of the signs are really subtle, so that's why parents can feel so confused about whether what they're seeing is really normal or whether they should take action. My advice is always this: if you're noticing ongoing struggles, especially if your child is anxious, avoiding schoolwork, or showing any of those red flags that I've talked about prior, it's worth asking some questions and exploring support. Trust your instincts. You're the parent and you know your child best. The next step is often the school SENCO, SENCO, the Special Needs Educational Coordinator. Their role is to connect families with additional support and assessments. Sometimes this is where the right help begins. But if you feel that you're not getting the answers you need, that's when looking at outside assessments can really help. One pathway that some families explore is SPELD, SPELD. To access their services, you usually need to join their organisation first, and assessments are around the $700 mark. They give you very detailed and comprehensive reports, which is amazing, but some families find that very, very valuable. For other families, though, those reports can feel quite overwhelming, and teachers don't always have the time or the skills to translate them into everyday strategies that they can quickly absorb into the classroom. So while that information is excellent, it isn't always easy to use in practice. If the SENCO pathway doesn't get you the support you need, I can do an assessment with your child. My assessments start from $250 depending on whether you'd like a full written report or just a practical plan. Now, I'm not a psychologist, so I can't give you an official diagnosis of dyslexia. But what I can do is focus directly on your child's learning, what they know, what they're finding difficult, and what's getting in their way of their confidence and progress. I look at their reading, their writing, their spelling, their maths, and I pinpoint where their struggles are and give you some practical next steps that you, your child, and their teachers can use straight away. One family I worked with recently had a child who was in tears most afternoons because reading felt impossible. Once we found where the gaps were and introduced strategies that actually fit the way his brain worked, the fear lifted. Within weeks, he was reading fluently, his confidence growing, and even his teacher commented on the progress that he has made. One of the questions that I'm often asked is, what program actually works for reading? Well, the truth is, every school uses different methods and it can feel confusing to know where to start. I can't speak for every program out there, but what I do know is what works in my practice. I use the Davis method, which takes children through 3 steps for easier reading. These steps give them the tools to finally make sense of the words on the page without relying on sounding out phonics or memorizing rules that don't stick. For many children, it's the first time reading has actually felt achievable, and that's where the confidence begins to grow. So, if you've been wondering where to start, here's the short version. Begin with your child's teacher and the SENCO. If you're still feeling stuck, I can help with an assessment, a clear plan, and strategies that actually match how your child's brain works. And remember, whether it's your child, your students, your colleagues, or even yourself, those feelings of embarrassment and the belief that you're not good enough don't have to define you. If you'd like to explore whether this could be the right next step, you're welcome to book a free initial meeting with me. We'll just sit down during that meeting and I'll help you work out what's really happening, what's going on, and where are the best next steps for you to go. Finally, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, because the more people who understand this, the fewer kids will carry the belief that they're not good enough through into adulthood.